Oftentimes, when we're attempting to understand other people, we like to generalize. That is to say that because we know one or two things about them, we know everything there is to know about them. So, for example, given the reputation of Ivy League schools, we generalize and say that anyone that's gone to an Ivy League school must be highly intelligent and hardworking. Another example is the anti-police sentiments that you see floating around these days. So, because of the actions of a few, we like to generalize and say that all police officers are just bad people. And the reason we do this is because it's easy, but it's not without consequence. And in this video, I want to go through just a few of the many consequences to prove why generalizing is wrong and why instead we really should be recognizing people as individuals. So number one, generalizing is quite simply logically flawed. The assumption that because two people have something in common with each other, that they're therefore the exact same person is just flat out incorrect. Because it's entirely possible, if not more than likely, that two people can have something in common with each other and still be entirely different people. So, to pick a rather innocent example, I myself being a Seattle native, Seattle is known for its coffee, so it follows naturally that a lot of people from there like coffee. But guess who doesn't? This guy, right? So I can still have in common with somebody where we're from and still be a different person from them. Number two, generalizing is reductionistic because you're reducing somebody from a person who has the free will and the intellectual capacity to decide how they want to respond to their environment and embody their characteristics to somebody that doesn't have that free will or that capability. And instead you're saying that because they have some characteristic, then everything else about them is dictated to them and there's nothing they can do about that. And you've in turn reduced them to being defined by one thing and just ignoring everything else they have to offer and pretty much saying that none of that stuff exists, which is obviously completely untrue. So I think gender stereotypes serve as a little bit of a less innocent example of this. So if somebody says that because Keshav is a man, he's therefore prone to, violence and criminality and untrustworthiness, then they've reduced me from someone who can think for themselves into somebody that's too stupid to do that. And they've reduced me into someone who's defined solely by their gender rather than anything else that comprises my personality, anything else that I have to offer. And those stereotypes obviously go both ways as well. And number three, generalizing is a misdiagnosis of the problem because it completely ignores individual accountability. So to name a completely arbitrary, made-up example that I think is analogous to some of the more controversial ones out there, let's say that we observe a rising trend in the number of car accidents where the victims' names started with K. So, in my opinion, we'd be skirting around the problem if we said that there's some kind of vast conspiracy against people whose names start with K, and so now we need to start picketing against that as the problem, rather than saying, well, it could have actually been that person's fault. It could have actually been Keshav's fault because he was driving too fast or he was texting while driving or something like that. And so not only does the real problem not get solved, but I myself also am not going to feel like I can be held accountable for anything or that I can do anything wrong. And so I'm not going to take any action to solve the problem either. So instead of generalizing, look at each person as though they're an individual that's mutually exclusive from everybody else, regardless of what they might have in common with those other people. And take everything on a case-by-case basis before you start trying to recognize trends or patterns. So if this helps, let me know if that's insightful for you, and I look forward to hearing from you. So thanks for watching. See you next time.